is timely this evening, so I thank you all for coming out at this time on a weeknight. I just want to give a brief introduction. I'm glad that we have such a crowd. I think when we have these kinds of issues come up, it's really very important that we continue to discuss them. But before I kind of unleash Mike on the PowerPoint, I just want to kind of talk about how I see this night going a little bit. Really, we're not here, and everyone should know, we're not here to tell you what to do tonight. And we're not here, this isn't a time to kind of lambaste your city councilor for a vote or anything like that. Yeah, you all are going to get to vote in June. But what's extremely important is that that you have all of the facts and knowledge to make an educated vote, and not only that, but we want to make sure that if there's questions or concerns, I'm sure we've all heard them. I know people come to me all the time and say, oh, what about this? What about that? Can we make this tweak? I think there's still probably a few bugs that we can work out to make this a little bit easier for everybody. So what we're going to do is Mike is going to give a very brief PowerPoint on the Pay As You Throw program to just give you some facts on where we are now with it, and then give you some of the hard numbers, and hopefully we'll get through that fairly quickly, and then we can really open it up for discussion. Mike?
Thank you, Nick. I'm Mike Roy, City Manager, and I do want to run through this quickly, and because I think the most important part of the evening is the talk that will happen afterwards. So if you think it's going too quick, please interrupt me. Thank you, Linda. Yep, you want to kill the lights. So it was almost a year ago that the City Council voted to go with the Pay As You Throw program. That was in May. The program really, for Pay As You Throw, didn't start until September. There was quite a bit of things that needed to get arranged for it to begin. So it started September 8th. However, we did start curbside recycling in July. In addition to the budget concerns that the City Council had at that time about Pay As You Throw, there were 5 other reasons, and I'll go through these very quickly, about why the Council at that time thought Pay As You Throw was a valuable thing. The first one is a long-term thing. I mean, it is 3 years away when our contract expires where we currently bring our trash. But one of the most important things about that expiration is that our cost per ton is probably going to double when we're through delivering at PERG. And so that's why you see the $60 going to $110, $120 in 2018. Our goal then is to try to reduce our tonnage as much as we can before we get to a point where things double. The second thing with Pay As You Throw, it's like the other utilities. You pay for what you use, water, sewer, electricity. Thirdly is the fact that in everybody's property tax bill up until this past year, residential collection has been included in your tax bill, and businesses and large apartment buildings have paid for residential disposal even though they don't get it. So if you're a business in Waterville, you have to hire out your own trash removal, but yet you pay for everyone else's trash removal in your property tax bill. That's the way it used to be. Pay As You Throw has changed that. Thirdly is the question about renters and having renters be responsible for their trash. The last item is with Pay As You Throw, we're able to get curbside recycling. So when we estimated what would happen with Pay As You Throw a year or so ago, we thought our tonnage would go down 40%. It's gone down by over half, about 55%, 8 tons a day less. We pick up every single day we're out there. We're picking up 8 tons less than we were a year ago. This is what the graph looks like. Obviously, you can see when recycling started. The orange is the current year. The blue is the year before. Huge decrease in our tonnage when we started doing curbside. And then in September, when Pay As You Throw came in, our tonnage went down even more. So, looking ahead to next year, if voters approve it in June, we think our tonnage per year will go from 4,400 tons to 2,000 tons a year. The estimated savings in going from 4,400 to 2,000 is 201,000 from selling bags. You can see the number, the revenue number there. A total of 516, but you have to deduct the amount that we pay for curbside recycling. And the other thing we pay for is the recycling center on the Armory Road that's still open and that serves businesses. Because we don't pick up recycling for businesses. So many businesses, once we started curbside recycling, said, hey, wait a minute, what about us? And we had to go back to the place on the Armory Road and said, would you stay open for businesses and for residential? Anyone can go to that place on the Armory Road. And for large apartment buildings, because we don't pick up curbside for large apartment buildings. So they can go here. So there is a cost to having them available on the Armory Road. So this is the last slide. Our concerns for the future, we mentioned it before, with our contract expiring in 2018 and our costs going up. Most people don't realize it, but after Public Works, police, fire, trash disposal is the fourth biggest cost in our city budget. I'm not including schools. I'm not including our debt service for the money we borrowed. But when you look at all our city departments, 12 or 13 different departments, trash disposal is number 4. So it's a big item in our budget. And it's going to change dramatically come 3 years. We're trying to get ready for when that change comes. And so really that is the end of what I wanted to present for numbers. And I think what Nick said at the very beginning is very important. We're not here to convert anyone. We're here to tell you how the decision was made a year ago and what the numbers are, and now try and address some of the questions or concerns. So
and make sure that you're all aware of the repercussions of if it's voted to be kept and if it's voted to be done away with, because the implications are fairly serious. I mean, the reality is you're looking at more than $500,000 increase simply from trash spending should this go away. And that's certainly up to you. You're the voters, but you should be aware of that. And one of the things that I just want to kind of mention, because a lot of it's not always so simple to kind of wrap your head around. When we say this, the reality is, because some people I've heard say, well, this is a double tax because I'm already paying for the trash that I was paying before, and now I'm paying for the bags on top of this. Reality is, spending went up in other places in the budget, and so looking at some of the things that Mike has put up here, the fact that this is an issue we're going to have to deal with down the road. In fact, every municipality really is going to have a serious decision to make in the next couple of years of how they're handling the solid waste. The city decided we could either pay for that increased spending in the other departments, like debt spending that had gone up over the years, things like that, with the tax increase, or we could say, well, we could look at the trash as a way of we can address this issue now and pull the city back out of the trash business a little bit, start treating it more like a utility, and so the big thing is the money you're paying for with the bag. You're not paying for the bags. What that's actually paying for is it's paying for the majority of the cost to dispose of what's in the bag.
what's inside?
It's what's inside the bag. It's the disposal of that. That's what that money is going towards. It's not just $2 for a bag. It's to actually pay for the disposal of that trash. So, at this point, I think we'd like to open it up. Tell us who you are.
I am Heather Mera. Most everybody in this room knows me. Not quite. I have a question. Should it go past that we continue with this bag and recycling, is there any way that we can get recycling every week?
Well,
This is the thing. People are in apartment buildings and a lot of people are, or people are in small houses and they don't have places to store this stuff. And sometimes it's 20, 21 days before we're waiting.
It was a very difficult decision when we finally signed the contract with Sullivan's on the recycling because we absolutely wanted them to do every other week. They just could not do it with the other 17 towns that they currently serve. So they reduced their contract to our cost to us from $78,000 to $72,000, with the understanding it's going to be the first and the third week. So we've talked about other things that maybe the city could do on those months that have 5 weeks, and that's what happens. We just had one, right? Yep, just
We
had
had
one.
several of them since Thanksgiving.
Right. So the city could go around and pick up on that odd week, but then Sullivan's will be coming the next week. So then people are going to be, I think, confused. Wait a minute. Some were picked up last week, some were picked up this week. Which one is it now? And now if it's every other week, is it 2 weeks from now, or is it 2 weeks from the last week? So we've been trying to find a way.
And actually, I'd like to join in on this. I want to say there are no definite yes or no answers here, because what we want to do, and what we're going to do, this is budget time, and this is one of the major reasons that we called this meeting. It's your budget, and I can promise you that I cannot beg people enough to show up to budget meetings, but this is only a small piece of major spending that goes on here in the city that affects each and every one of you and your tax bills. And frankly,
Are there other companies that do recycling? Or are we at the mercy of Sullivan's?
well, that's why I'm saying there's no definite answers. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer to that.
We did sign a 3-year contract.
But that doesn't mean that we can't look
Well, we
at
signed a
these
contract
every other
with Kirk,
week.
and look where we are in 2018.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes, Steve?
I'm Steve Stoll. I've lived in Waterville for about 30 years. I just want to say, it's very easy to be critical of people and all, but I do want to, thank the council actually for bringing pay-as-you-throw to Waterville. I think it was a very smart move, and I think you're thinking of not only us, but of future generations when you do that. I also wanted to say that for those people that, can find a picture of a place where there's trash, out behind a place that they want to claim on pay-as-you-throw, I can match that with a picture of a very nice house in Waterville that's impeccably clean. So be thinking of that when people share those. And the last thing that I would like to just say is, for those people that want to change it, can you please also give us a solution on where we would get the $430-something thousand? Because again, it would be really easy to say get rid of it, but please also give us a solution on where we get the money.
Sure. An important thing that you mentioned, because there was a picture in the paper with trash that actually came from a commercial dumpster. It had nothing to do with pay-as-you-throw. So you are right. I mean, and so there is an issue. And I also think it's important that if people are, say, throwing trash in the front lawn, we put the onus on where it belongs. That's the people throwing the trash. And we are reallocated some resources this year to beef up our code enforcement office. Hopefully that's going to have an effect on those things, because those are things that we take seriously in the city, and we need to follow it up. Steve, with regards to where we're going to come up with $430,000, show up to the budget meetings is what I would say. I can tell you, I don't think that we can slice out almost $500,000, that there will be some kind of tax increase. Whether that's the whole amount or not, I don't know, but I don't vote on it. But I think that the council, is a very thoughtful group, and they're going to be looking at the budget line by line, and they are looking at the budget line by line. But again, I just can't encourage enough that if you're concerned about that not only do you pay attention to this, but also to all of the other budgetary issues that we deal with when we meet every other week. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. Number one, going back to Heather's question. My name is Debbie Berthium. I live on Bowtell Avenue, and have lived in this city for over 30 years. Going back to her question about can we do every other week, and you said 3-year contract. Is that exclusive with Sullivan's? Can we find somebody else to do it? Are they the only company out there? Because maybe we need to find somebody to do it, to do the every other week thing. I mean, if that's a problem, because we don't have a garage, okay? When this first, and this is the second part of my question, when this first came about, I was like, oh, right, they're cramming it down our throat, okay? That's how I felt. I wasn't on board. We're just 2 people. we had 2 bags, 2 small kitchen bags at the end of our driveway every week, and we're like, and now we gotta pay $2, you know, on top of that. I'm on board with it now. I see how much, you know, recycle. You know, it's kind of been fun. He's kind of going, is this recycle? Nope, that's trash. Is that, you know, so it's kind of been a challenge for us to try to figure it out, but I'm on board with it. But it is a problem in terms of storage for that extra 5th week. I did find out today that the guy on the Armory Road will take our recycles on that off week, but it's Monday through Friday. Hello, I work. You know, it's difficult for somebody that works the same hours that the business is open. You know, yeah, and right, or have a truck to take it with. So, getting back to Heather's point, can we do it every other week, or at least that 5th week, and then publicize it enough so everybody knows? And then I guess there's kind of a third point. I look up and down my street and I am disgusted with how much trash is out there from the winter. I am disgusted with the people. I mean, it's not just trash, it's dog poop, it's all of that stuff. I am disgusted with it. I think probably we need to have more than one of these meetings, because I think if everybody raises their hand, more than half of this group is going to be in favor of recycling. So we're all talking to the choir in that regard. We need to get out and talk with, you know, get other people that are on the other side of the fence, because the day that you have that voting, guess who's going to show up? The people that are going to vote it down. And then you're leaving it up to us. And again, I wasn't on board, but I am now.
I want to say I agree wholeheartedly this every other weekend. I don't know. I'm going to say I bet you Mike doesn't have a definite answer whether we can find somebody else to pick that up or not. So what I will say is that I can promise you we will look into that, and this is the time to do that. I feel like my garage is an episode of Hoarders, even on 2 weeks sometimes. And my wife, who's sitting right in front of you, will tell you that she feels more strongly about it than I do. So I agree. We absolutely have to look into that.
It's been probably the biggest complaint that we've received in the whole operation, pay as you throw and recycling. So we are going to continue to look at it. As Nick said, we can't give you an answer tonight, but we certainly know that it's inconvenient. And we're going to try to talk with Sullivan again, or find another way to do it. We really, I don't think, want to break the contract, because when we signed a 3-year agreement with them, they agreed to buy equipment and hire people for this job.
I'm not saying break the
No, she's
contract,
saying
I'm saying find somebody to
someone.
add on.
Supplement.
Supplement.
Oh, something.
Now's the time that we're going to decide how to pay for this stuff. So this is exactly the time. Right.
And
You
they're
do,
adding pounds every day.
But I can't imagine it'd be a huge cost to add a couple of routes. I just can't in my head imagine that. I'm trying to take these in order. I'm going to go here and then back there. Sir?
I just had, we're talking through this. How do you plan to approach getting information back to the public as to what you're going to do about it? Some solutions. That just newspaper, you're going to do it through a reporter reporting the paper, or how do you plan on letting us know?
Well, I'm sure that we'll be distributing information through the city's website. I don't know how many. I mean, we have a lot of social media ways that we're doing this right now.
On us pretty quick.
I would not be opposed to having more than one meeting. If people are interested, I think this is kind of the kickoff to talking about these things. And as we continue to work through the budget, these are the things that go hand in hand, because we're going to figure out, all right, people want an extra, say, 4 or 5 routes a year. That has to be budgeted. So necessarily, we're going to be talking about these things.
So when is the budget?
The budget, hopefully, will be by June. But I think there is an impression that it's going to be pushed later June. I mean, a lot of things right now are hinging on what happens at the state level, and there's a lot of back and forth going on, and so I can't give you a definite date, but June should be the time that we're looking to make. We should have our answers of what we want to do, frankly, by then. I don't want to wait till the last minute and then start answering these questions for people.
So is the city's website the best place to find answers?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, it is.
And we'll make that,
And also, one thing, a completely underutilized resource is everybody's ward counselor. You can certainly email my office, you can email Mike, but you each have a counselor for your ward. They represent you very directly, and they come to the council. Karen's here, and right in the front row from Ward 7, and I think we hear very regularly from Karen, or Dana is here, Sydney Mayhew's here, from my ward, of things that Rosemary's out back from Ward 3. So we hear from the counselors. They're the ones who take these things and they bring them to the council conversation, and they really do follow up on these things. So I would encourage you to utilize your city councilor. Sir.
I'm Irving Gilbert. I've recently returned to this area. And I know this is maybe sound frivolous and it may sound like something that's very difficult to accomplish, but you know, when we go shopping in Hannaford or whatever, they give us all this trash and all this junk that you don't need. And if everybody would really, you know, shop better and say, look, that's what I do. I've even gone so far as taking some of the trash back to them.
Well, I want to be careful here because I definitely want to. I appreciate the sentiment, but this meeting is definitely not to lecture people on.
I'm not lecturing anybody. I'm just telling you what somebody can do to change things. And of course, nobody really wants to hear anything like that. That's okay. I usually start by
Ma'am.
I'm Steve Jacobs, and I guess the big thing I think regarding the recycling is I do agree we need to pick it up more often. But I think many of the people that are opposed to the whole program don't know what we can recycle. We have not done a very good job at telling the whole community. You know, people here probably know exactly what to recycle, but I guarantee you, most people have no idea what they can recycle. So I think we need to do a lot better education of the whole community on what we can recycle.
And actually, we have somebody here from Eco Maine, and we actually are going to be, as we get to, move forward, I agree. We need to do a better job at marketing these materials and getting them out to people. I still get...
But they'll be on board. I mean, it's like your taxes will be little.
I was the biggest person opposed to it, and I will say, with a household of 6 people, I put 1 bag out a week. Now, it takes 2 trash men to pick it up. I don't know what the workers' comp is going to be on the other side of that. Right, but it does significantly reduce the trash. Gibran, I saw your...
Just a quick question. If June comes and this program is repealed, pay as you throw, can we keep recycling? Or will we consider keeping recycling?
Well, I think, here's the thing. That's certainly up to the people to work through their counselors to vote on that, so we can make that part of the budget. Reality is, it's close to $80,000 of expense on top of this, and what we've seen in the past, what has been recognized is that over time, people will continue to recycle for a little bit. It has been voted out in other towns, and over time, the trash does actually creep back up. It's just human nature that it's easier to throw it in the trash. I can tell you, I would probably just throw my trash away. It's human nature. So I don't think we'd see any savings. I think, in fact, what we would be doing is paying $80,000 for recycling, and then on top of it. And I also think it's important not to lose sight of the fact that the biggest issue in all this is not only creating a program that works for everybody, but as a community, we're going to really have to figure out what we're going to do before 2018. And to put that in a kind of a time frame, 2016 could be as early as the city is going to have to start voting on how we deal with our trash.
Correct.
So it sounds like it's a long ways away. It's really about a year away. That's, we're talking about cost increase, that is going to be an enormous cost increase to the taxpayers of Waterville, and it is something to certainly be concerned about.
My name is Catherine Kelly. I am a renter. You have given us figures of the tonnage of garbage 4,400 to 2,000, but I don't see any figures about recycling. Do you have any tonnage figures for recycling? And my question really is there a difference in the figures and the underground stuff and things that are being diverted elsewhere? Is it significant?
Okay, yeah, probably, I should have put one slide up about tonnage for recycling. What's been difficult is compare it to the past, because we were never able to measure recycling in the past because everything went to the place on the Army Road, and there was no way to weigh it. But we do know with recycling how many tons per month we've been delivering to Eco Maine. So I do have that number.
And what you're saying is the equation work out.
Is there a difference between?
But I think another loop in that is that there has been a good number of city residents who have gone to private haulers. Mark, do you have any idea about how many people have switched over to private haulers? Is that something you guys track at this point?
No, we don't have an exact number. It was 200 or 300 last year, so.
Right, so.
Might be a little higher than that now.
So we'd have to consider the 200 or 300 people or families that have switched now over to the private haulers.
We think there was trash coming in from outside of the city too. People coming to work and bringing their trash and
Because
leaving it at work.
because there was free trash pickup before.
I think that definitely was part of it. There are probably 3 or 4
So-
reasons for the tonnage going down as much.
But we cannot make that equation work for you. I know that's, I know what you're
My
asking.
question is, how much is being diverted elsewhere because of the pay-as-you-throw?
Yep, a certain percent's going into recycling. a
So
certain
she's
percent-
asking how much is going to illegal dumping. That's really the heart of the question. Is that
Yeah, or
correct?
someplace
Oh,
else.
sure.
Another town somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know that we have a way of measuring because there are some places that I've seen pictures of where there's always been illegal dumping. The reality is the city never picked up the chair that went out front that we now see by the railroad. I mean, the city never came by and picked up your lazy boy. But some might take a picture of that and say, well, look, there's illegal dumping there. And again, it is a serious issue, and that's why we are diverting more resources this year. We're hiring an additional code enforcement officer because it's extremely important that we hold those people accountable who are doing that dumping and that we start finding people and really putting our resources. You got to put our money where our mouth is. We can't have all these ordinances that say things are illegal and then not enforce them. And hopefully that's going to be something that we start seeing a lot more of going forward, is that enforcement piece.
So with the money that we've saved, why can't we have not a free day, but a day where you can take that mattress or that chair?
Which we used to have at the airport road years ago. Where we'd get stuff from all over the area that would be coming into Waterville. If it was all free, mattresses, television.
Or have them pick it
A
up?
bulky pickup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a-
We'd have people bringing
Cumberland.
it from out of town and leaving it with their friends and relatives in Waterville if it was all free. Guaranteed.
But some towns do about that, like Cumberland, which has a pay-as-you-throw type program. They do a bulky pickup. I believe it's once or twice a year.
If we do a bulky pickup at the airport, we have to come to City Hall to get a pass to get in and do it.
Right, well, then we have a hazardous waste day.
Right.
We
Well,
have hazardous waste
listen.
day.
The point is, it's certainly all up to you. We just need people to know that we have to pay for it. And if people are fine with raising the tax rates to pay, we can pay for whatever services we want.
But I'd rather pay for my own mattress and not pay for yours.
Right.
I would too, but it's definitely up to the taxpayers, and that's where I say, talk to your counselors, because they're the ones who are going to be casting
Sure,
the
we
vote
don't
on
want
these
to pay for our
budgets.
mattress, but right now, there's no way to pay for it and have it picked up.
Or you
Right?
can hire someone. Yes.
Who?
Oh, there are plenty of people that do that.
Right, but what we're saying is if we had a place that we can take this stuff, even if we have to pay $5 for the mattress, at least we have a place to take it and get rid of it.
On the airport road,
Yeah.
you can take it.
They only charge a quarter ton rate, period.
I went out there on the weekend with a mattress and rugs and a whole bunch of stuff.
And you
On
pay
Saturday morning.
$24.
I paid $27 and I had
That's a
about,
quarter ton minimum weight.
yeah,
A mattress and a few rugs doesn't weigh a quarter ton.
no,
So $5 a mattress, $5 a rug, that's $10 instead of paying $27.
I kept it in my backyard but no one could see it.
No, I hear what you're saying.
But
Again,
I got together actually with my sister and we combined the load. That's what we did too.
and I'm saying, sorry, I want to be clear. we can, like I said, we can do whatever you want. We just need to realize that there's a cost associated to these things. And that's why, hopefully, more people, more than the 3 to 5 people that come to our budget meetings, come and show up and talk to your city councilors, because your city councilor is going to be the one to get those things passed and vote on those things. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to bulky pickups, because if we put it all together, then you get your quota done.
Right, we lost the bulky pickup years ago because of tax cuts or property. We saved $500,000, let's spend $1,000 to get it back in.
But that, well, it depends on how much we have to look at how much it costs.
Yeah.
But it's certainly more than $1,000.
Well, I know,
But that money that was being saved, again, that was actually really saved means put somewhere else, because there were other there were other expenditure increases. Again, we had 3 years of bond spending. We had union contracts, fixed costs like electricity and fuel. It wasn't like the city just said, well, we're going to charge for the bags and have a windfall and we have this extra pot of money. It was, we can either raise taxes or try to create this kind of savings. So
It sounds like at the bottom line of this, our taxes are going to go up anyway.
possibly, we're not there yet.
We're 2 months away.
I will review to you next, I promise. This gentleman in the yellow shirt has had his hand raised several times.
Phil Garnier, I live on Evergreen Drive. I'm concerned, as these people are, the last few speakers, about things that are too large for the trash bag. For example, I have a shovel, snow shovel that's ready to go. And I'm going to have to go to Airport Road and pay $12 to dispose of a $7.99 snow shovel?
It was never supposed to have gone in the trash before either, Phil. But if our people were picking it up in the past, they should not have.
But here's what I'll say is the point of this meeting is to hear these kinds of things. And what we should be doing is try to estimate some kind of cost. I mean, it's going to be difficult, but there's no reason that right now we shouldn't be estimating some kind of cost for bulky pickup if that's what people want. Because again, it needs to go into the budget. So I'm certainly not putting down what you're saying, and we can look into that. And there's going to be a chance to get that budget through the council.
Boy, who's next? I don't know.
Yes, you were next, and then right over there.
Alicia Barnes. So I have a couple points to make. One about the bulky pickup. I don't know, is Elizabeth Barron here? So the Kennebec Valley United Way does an annual e-waste pickup, donations. So you can bring your televisions, any kind of electronics, either antiquated, bulky. They do it at the Civic Center once a year, and you make a donation.
Yep.
So perhaps that's something United Way Mid-Maine would want to look into. So there are some creative ways we can be doing those types of things. Maybe another nonprofit wants to take the lead on the bulky thing. And my other point is I want to say that compared to Augusta, Waterville is really forward-thinking right now. Because I've been watching their budget, at least their school budget, because you can watch it right on the computer. And they were halfway through and found out they had $750,000 less than what they originally were told they were going to get. And watching them go through that budget is just, it's
Very difficult.
yes, it's for somebody that my kids aren't even in that school system. And they're saying even with cutting hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the budget, it's looking like a 6 to 7% increase in property taxes and that stuff. And now they're talking about we need to find ways to, I mean, you can only strip services so much before you have to start doing the pay-as-you-throw and doing use based on usage. Where I live, we actually have 16 units, and it's cheaper for us to have, we split the cost of the dumpster, but we still recycle. So we would probably be paying more for the dumpster if we didn't have the recycling. But my property taxes are a third of my mortgage. based on the mill rate. So I don't want them going up. And the thing is, even if you're not a property owner, that's going to trickle down to renters because it's going to be passed on rent. So I think if everybody can get down to 1 bag a week, Nick does, then my main concern when this first started was what about the people that cannot afford an extra $1 in their budget per week? So that is like my only concern. I know some of the food banks have the bags, but not everybody wants to go there to get bags.
You can only get them if you qualify for food assistance. If you're there for food assistance, you can't get them anywhere else in the city that I know of.
And I think maybe United Way does the e-waste for donations and they collect $5,000 worth of donations. They should say, well, a certain percentage is going to go towards providing trash bags. So this is the Waterville kid for.
We do have trash bags through our general assistance program.
Right.
But I also just want to mention, I think it's important that people don't feel discouraged if there are things like bulky pickups that you want and things like that, because I hope that the impression that nobody's getting is that what shouldn't be happening here, because neither Mike or I are having the final say on a budget right now, is telling people, no, we want to hear these things.
Matter of fact, neither of us have a vote.
I have a veto.
You have a veto.
Well, when in Indiana, we did the bulky, we lived in Indiana for 5 years, we did the bulky pickup twice a year. Half the time, half your stuff would be gone before the truck would even come by.
I'd like to just step out of my role as a city employee, and I'd like to speak as a Waterville taxpayer, because I am one, and about bulky waste. And to me, it's with trash or whatever, people should pay for what they use. So if you're talking about a free bulky waste disposal, I'm going to end up paying for landlords who have all kinds of mattresses and furniture and television sets, throwing it in the city's dumpster for free, and I'm going to end up paying for it. I think for bulky waste, people should pay for what it is they want to throw away.
We're going to go over here, then back there.
I got a couple of points to make. I can mostly, my name's Debbie Rover. I live in Ward 1. I can only base a lot of it on Ward 1. I've seen a lot of people who are putting their trash out on Saturday or Sunday when pickup is on Monday, and the animals get to it, it's torn up, it's thrown all over the place. I pick a lot of it up off my lawn. Another thing I wanted to say is, based on what someone was saying, what about the people that can't afford the extra $1 or so a week? I live across the street from a housing project, and I've seen many of the houses have 4 or 5 purple bags out there and no recycling. Now, I usually have 3 bins out there full of recycling, and I went from a 33-gallon bag, I went down to the smaller bag, and some weeks I don't even have to put a bag out. I really think there should be more education on recycling. I also think that, and the councilors may not like me after I say this, but I think they ought to have like ward meetings every so often to try to get people together to see what's happening in their ward, and things. But I really do, I love this program, and I hope it continues. And like I said, I think we need a lot more education on recycling.
Thank you for saying that. I do want to note, if people are putting their trash out on Saturday, that actually is, yeah, call. That's a violation of the ordinance.
Call.
No, call the city.
Call Public Works or...
Because there's no way the city can monitor, put cameras out and monitor every household.
The city of Waterville workers take care of the housing project, and during the summer, I pay whoever the department is, and they go and they mow the lawns over there. They see all these trash bags. They don't do nothing about it.
Call. Let us know, man.
Yeah.
Okay. You, ma'am, then you, sir, then you here in the front.
Is it possible to possibly have smaller bags for those? I sometimes go a couple of weeks in a 15-gallon bag, and it's going to get a little smelly in the summer. So I wouldn't mind paying And then other people have also asked about even larger bags than the 30-gallon ones, so that if they wanted to put it line one of their trash barrels with one of those, they could do that. So I'm just saying, if you're looking at options to sort of enhance this program, make it a little more user-friendly, one of the things could you look into is possibility of two more, a couple of different sizes of bags.
That's actually, I hope that we're looking at, Mike and I have been talking about that. I know my mother and father-in-law live in Cumberland. Their bags are totally different size. They don't have the rib ties on the top, so it can actually stretch right around the trash can. Ours are very awkward shaped. They're like these big squares that don't... Right, so you can't put it in a trash can. And I don't see why, I don't know if we can get smaller ones, but if we're looking at these things and looking to see where these items are available in different models, there's no reason we couldn't ask that question. Because the number one complaint I get is people don't like the bags because they're shaped bad and they tear easy. You know, especially you pull that rib tie and it strips right out of the top.
Yeah, because I take mine and I tie the little thing, and sometimes the handle rips, and so yeah.
Yes, I have to actually drag mine very strategically.
And then one more thing, what is the ordinance about when people can put it out?
By 5 o'clock the night before, I believe.
Is that right, Mark?
5 o'clock the night before. Yes, sir.
My name is Bernie Heater, Ward 1. I wonder if either of you or anybody here can tell me the mill thickness of the purple bags we're using.
I cannot.
Too thin.
Because I think what you're hearing from a number of people is that the bags don't seem very strong. I had them rip apart.
They're not strong.
Okay, let's have somebody talk to the provider of the bags and make them at least comparable to the 85 mil ones you can get at the grocery store. That's so I win both.
1.5 mil for the larger bag and 1.35 for the smaller.
Yeah, the smaller ones rip even easier. They're I have literally dropped a bag in and it blows up.
Whatever the mill rating is then,
Yeah.
I know, talking to a couple of other people, they've had the same experience, that trying to pull the ribbon together, it just pulls loose. There's something poorly made.
Okay.
I can promise you that we will look into the options in the bags and we will definitely get word out on what we find long before there's any kind of vote and see if we can make that change, because I don't like the bags myself. You were next.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ellen Fellow, I live on Elmhurst Street. My question kind of goes along with people who are putting trash out inappropriately or whatever. I've had an issue with a neighbor that is burning trash, and I called it in to the regular, not the 911 number, but just said, they sent the police didn't come, they sent the fire department over. And they came over and they went and talked to the neighbor, and they said that they had burned a pizza box. But she'd had the largest lawn bags of trash out there that afternoon, and they didn't seem interested in hearing that they were trash bags that were out there. And I've taken photos of them because I know these neighbors. And so what I'd like to know is, I don't know what she's burning. It's, obviously toxic. But how, what education or what understanding was there with the fire department about how burning trash would be handled? Because they basically said to me, we don't know because we didn't see it happening. But by the time I call and they come over, it's gone. So I didn't, that wasn't a good experience for me, because they basically said, oops, we weren't here in time and we need to get along. So I felt like I wasn't heard or respected when that happened, and I don't know what's going to happen if I call again.
Has it gone on since the first time?
It's been winter,
Yeah.
so the fire pit has been fairly inactive for
So
this
I think
winter.
the question to be answered is what is the protocol and who is that up to? What's the city's role in that?
Right.
Do you know that answer, Mike? I can tell you I don't know that answer, but I'm certainly happy to talk to the
I mean,
chief.
if they're not going to believe me that she's burning trash,
Yeah, Mike
then-
will follow up with the chief, and if we can just get your information,
Absolutely.
we'll follow up with you.
Contact me and I'll talk with him, and then, yeah.
thanks.
And Mike will follow up with you.
I'm not saying we'll absolutely solve it, but...
No, I don't think you will with this one, but.
Okay.
Sir.
Thank you. Fair enough.
My name is Todd Martin. I live on Sheldon Place. I don't know my ward number, but Dana's my counselor. I just want to say thanks for the city for doing this. I just moved to Waterville about a year ago, and it's, as a young person moving to Waterville, it's really refreshing to see a town that has curbside recycling. I grew up in Portland. I lived in Gardner. Both of those towns have curbside recycling. I probably wouldn't have moved to Waterville if they weren't already thinking about putting in curbside. So it might not seem like a really flashy thing, but curbside recycling actually does attract young people. I'm testament to that. My question is, I know that this year the savings that the city is going to realize, about $430,000 hopefully, is going to be used to keep the taxes down and the mill rate down. If we keep pay-as-you-throw after June 9th, which I hope we do, is the city thinking about what that money could be used for in the budget instead? A new code enforcement officer? Are there hopes and dreams for the future?
I'll be frank with you. At this point, it's going to continue to be strictly towards the mill rate. That's just the situation we're in. Should the voters vote to keep this in, should we accomplish the goals that we would like to, certainly, which is expanding business, expanding the tax base, and more economic development, at some point when mill rates are trickling down, and I'm going to guess it probably would be beyond my term of 3 years, an honest guess. But that's something that I would think that your future leaders would look into. But the honest answer is, at this point, it's definitely going to be going towards the mill rate. You're welcome. Karen?
Citizen.
Yes.
If we do raise the mill rate, approximately how much would that be?
Well, since you'll be at the budget meeting, you'll know, if it were to be, are you talking strictly disproportionate?
If you were to get rid of pay-as-you-throw.
Well, the pay-as-you-throw portion would be about two-thirds of a mill. About two-thirds of a mill. One mill is roughly $600,000. $650, okay. So about two-thirds of a mill strictly on the trash. Now, of course, we still have to hammer out the city's budget.
So layman's terms, $1,800 a year per resident, per tax.
So, well, on $1,000 it'd be what, $50? $60. 66.666.
The other thing I want to say, because I know like where I live in Ward 7, and my biggest complaints have been to and it's the trash from the landlords. The apartment buildings are horrendous. And I've made numerous calls to him on different apartment buildings. I think that's the biggest complaint, that the residents who own homes, they have their purple bags out, they have to recycle. But it's still out of state or the out of town landlords who take no interest in what their residents are doing in their apartment buildings. And they're absentee landlords, and I think that's been my biggest complaint for the Ward 7 residents, is that I call 2 or 3 times a week on different residences. One on King Street is out of control, which Mike knows about. And I think these are the biggest things. I think people do like the recycling program, but when you have out-of-state or absentee landlords who just have no interest in what's happening, it takes away from the quality of life of people who do own homes in that neighborhood. And if people are going to vote against it, they're going to vote against it because of this, because we're tired of looking at it, whatever section of town we live in. And we do have meetings, Senator does have meetings in Ward 7, and I really think that's the biggest determinant of pay-as-you-throw are absentee landlords and people looking at this every single day saying, this is crazy. I don't want to look at this trash anymore.
You're right. It's an extremely serious problem. I think Senate's actually been one of the leading groups that is saying, hey, we need to actually enforce the ordinances that we have. And we need to not talk about bluffing people. We need, the reality is you get what you pay for.
And we had this conversation.
We did. We're on the same page of this. And Mike knows where I stand on this too. And I think we know it's time. We need to get serious about actually putting the resources to taking these people to court and to enforcing and imposing the fines and penalties for breaking the ordinance. And that's a huge piece when we talk about neighborhood revitalization as well. Because if landlords realize that we're going to enforce these things, then perhaps
We'll choose better tenants.
there's going to be an incentive to fix up the buildings and get tenants who don't throw trash in the front lawn.
They fix up the
You're
building,
you're right,
they
you're right.
fix
It's a
the
serious, serious problem, and it is one that we have to deal with, and I'm hoping,
Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, a meeting with our city attorney and the code enforcement officer to talk just about that. Other strategies.
Like today, I called
But-
her out on 3 buildings.
Yes.
And that was just within 300 feet of where I live. It was just atrocious, but so.
We've had that every year.
it is a resource prioritization issue.
It really is, and like I said, we want people to live in Waterville, but who wants to move here if these neighborhoods look like this? I think it's the way it's smack.
Stu, you can wait a little bit, and then Nick, we'll go to Nick and John.
Stu Silverstein, I'm just in the Waterville. I find it amazing that we have not heard from one person who is opposed to the purple bags and curbside recycling. And if there's anyone here who has a decent argument or can give me a decent rationale for opposing the system that we now have in place, I'd sure like to hear from that person.
There shouldn't be one.
Without further ado. Not to talk. My name is Nick Champagne. I live in Ward 5. I have been against the pay-as-you-throw program since day one. I could proudly say I've never purchased a purple bag, or used one for that matter. Actually, I have a private hauler that comes in and takes our trash. In fact, I'll just give you an example. I pay $1,800 in taxes. If I put out 2 bags, I pay $2 or per bag, $4 a week. Comes out to about $200 a year. If you figure that I pay $20 a month for a private hauler to come in, I pay $240 a year, which is almost equivalent to what I would pay with the purple bags. Now, keep in mind that I don't have to pay for any of the special bags. I can buy any bags that I want. In fact, I can actually put out bulky waste out there, and they'll take it. With that $20 a month, there's no questions asked, and they take it. And beyond this, the $200 a year, I have elderly neighbors that are on a fixed income, Social Security. Knowing that they would probably have an issue with that, I approached them and said, hey, listen, I can have up to 8 to 9 bags, and you can come over and put your 1 bag a week or a small bag a week, and just put it there. And no questions asked, and they've been doing that since day one, just 6 months ago. I promised myself I wouldn't come here to complain about it. In fact, I've actually kind of grown and understood. I've actually used the recycling system quite a bit, and it's actually saved some of the waste that I've been putting out curbside so that I can help others on my neighborhood. And I wanted to come with a solution, and I wanted to see what Mike and Nick had to say about it. The town of Fairfield has a pretty good system that's working right now. As many of you may know, they have private haulers that come and take their waste. What is the city's position on cutting trash collection completely out of the budget? And I know that sounds radical, but hear me out. You can keep the curbside recycling with the money that you save from that program. It would allow the public works to focus on things that are in need in this town, mainly road maintenance. And I think we can all agree that the roads in town are in dire need of help. In addition to that, we'll save some money in the budget to be able to give to Mark and his crew to go and fix the roads and to go and to put it into the places where we want it to be. The other option is we raise the taxes and keep the waste collection in our budget. But I'm thinking the most realistic thing is just cut it out completely and put our tax dollars to where I think it would be most useful.
Yeah, in the 10 years I've been here, we have bid out trash collection twice. Once when Paul LePage was here. The bids that we got then, Nick, were much higher than what we figured our cost was for trash collection.
That's not what he's saying.
Oh,
let me see if I can.
I thought you were talking about getting rid of trash collection.
I want to take this in 2 parts. One, I would challenge you to say that I thought I was going to spend. I have a much bigger household than you, and I thought I was going to spend that $200 on bags. I spend $8 a month on bags with 6 people in the house and 2 kids in diapers, because I'm very diligent about what goes in the recycling. That said, I commend you for helping your neighbors and things like that. I'm not totally opposed to cutting the trash out of the budget. I've said this to Mike. I said, you know, I've actually said we can cut this whole thing out. But here's the thing. We, Mike, myself, city councilors, work for the taxpayers. It needs to, for me to support anything, I need to know that it's something that the majority of people in Waterville want. I'm certainly not going to just impose that top down, because I think there's a couple sides to that. Hey, I mean, frankly, I've told Mike we could cut it out and show people that we're taking that savings and pushing it right back to the mill rate. We can put it to something else. I know Mark's got plenty of projects. I mean, we've got weeds growing out of the sidewalks. I mean, we could really beatify the city, but we'd probably also have a lot more people talking about trash everywhere. So I'm not opposed to that, Nick. Frankly, it's a good discussion.
Well, I mean, what I'm suggesting is not that the city would completely cut it out.
Right.
And I'm saying rewrite the ordinance so that the city is no longer in the trash business. Leave it to the people that are in the private sector that can actually, compete for services in town.
So everybody would be on their own?
Everybody would be on their own. Bolsters. Bolsters would pay, I think you can pay $1 a bag. If you still want to do the pay-as-you-throw system, do it with bolsters. You can still have the curbside recycling paid for by the city with that budget savings. And I'm saying everybody's on their own. You could go with the neighborhood thing where like I do, and maybe get together with a few neighbors and get your trash collected. I don't think the city does it efficiently, just quite honestly.
Well, what I would say is, you obviously feel strongly about that. I don't know what your schedule looks like, so I don't try to demand that people come to meetings if they can't, but I would recommend, if people can, come to the budget meetings and talk to your ward council. I believe you have John O'Donnell. I believe you're in Ward 5. Because as it is now, I can promise you I can't just come out as mayor and say we're switching off trash tomorrow. I mean, you know that. But
and our budget meeting 2 weeks from now is going to be on trash and public works.
April 28th.
2 weeks.
28th. April 28th at 6 o'clock is when we're going to talk about public works and trash, right up in the council chamber.
Now, Amy, this isn't a city endorsement of that idea. This is just saying that we're open to that idea. Stu.
Perhaps the city should get out of the trash collection business. We've talked about that, and that's a real possibility. But it's a terrible idea to put everybody on their own. I don't want to live in a city where these huge trucks going by competing with each other. You know, we have 10 different, 20 different haulers coming up and down the street looking for business. The way to do it is for the city to get out of it and contract with one hauler, because from an environmental viewpoint, you can't have all these haulers racing around town.
Speed on our roads.
There are a variety of issues, Al. No matter which way we cut it, there's going to be a host of issues. So
we'd love to be out of the trash business. We'd love it. No, really. We would.
You and then you. Yes, sir.
Pat Brown, I've been in Waterville for 70 years, so I think I know a little bit about Waterville. I don't think this is a bad idea. On the other hand, I don't think it's a great idea. Has anybody figured out what the saving is if we don't pay $80,000 to recycle and just throw it in our trash? Is there a saving if we put it in recycle? Or is it a wash?
At the current time, it's a wash. The cost per ton to recycle is about the same as it is to put it in the trash.
Except environmental.
Right.
Wait a minute, though. Wait.
It is.
All right.
It is. Yep. There are other reasons to recycle, other than just cost.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
But you know that as well as I do.
Well, the tipping fee too, if you put recycling in the trash, that's $60 a ton, you're gonna have to pay for that to go to the incinerator as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right. And no, it's cheaper, the savings comes from the reduction in the rubbish. And there's a income stream from the bags that pays for the trash to be thrown away and pays for the tipping fees. Gentleman in the brown t-shirt here, and then you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Mitchell Pratt. I've lived in Waterville most of my life. I don't know how you do it with the trash bags, but I probably grip at least one of them. I think one of my questions was, I believe I read in the paper that we actually take the trash to Oakland and dump it there, and then they haul it. Now, do we pay for them to haul it for us? Are we paying a middleman that we could eliminate, or?
Winslow, Waterville, Oakland all bring the trash to the Oakland transfer station, and we hire the same transportation company to bring our trash to Perk in Orrington. So each town, Waterville, Winslow, Oakland, pays the same cost per ton to transport, and we get savings, I think, by the 3 towns using the same transfer station. So we drop our garbage off there, it gets compacted, put into a roll-off container, hauled 60 miles north, and we pay Oakland for having that dumping at their trash facility, their transfer station.
And then we pay for the haul.
And then we pay for the hauling. So with trash, you have 4 different costs. One is the hauling. Another cost is the use of the Oakland transfer station. Third one is when we get to Perk, there's a tipping fee. And then there's another miscellaneous fee. But anyway, our costs...
Your truck and maintenance and your employees are doing the work.
I'm sorry?
Then there's your truck and maintenance, the employees doing the work.
Yeah, that doesn't include our own crew picking it up.
Which, if we hauled it directly, there'd be this, almost we'd have to buy our own trucks and have more crews, and so you're going to pay for it one way or another to get it to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
There's no going around kind of that additional cost.
I didn't know it
Yeah.
was something that.
Like if there was a step we could cut out.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think so, simply because we'd have to pay for the extra trucks, the extra men, the extra...
What about Perk? Is there another place other than Perk?
Well, we're committed. We have a 30-year contract with Perk. It has 3 years left.
Yeah, at the end of those 3 years, do we have to go back to Perk?
No.
Is there a way to save money than going to somebody else?
Well, that's what we're going to spend the next 2 years figuring out.
Right.
Or a year and a half.
Yeah, because that's when we said probably 2016, late, we're going to have a vote on what the city's going to do. Because that's going to be a major decision. We have people who are working, and there's a lot of communities who are affected by the PERC issue who are now trying to work on this very issue to figure out what it is we're going to do. So, no, PERC isn't going to be the only option by the end of 3 years, hopefully. It's not.
Right.
Because either way, we're going to pay for it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Walter Ewing, and I'm one of those old people that are on fixed income, and I rent. And when this program started, I was probably one of the worst complainers about the whole thing.
More than me?
Probably more than you, yes, because I'm a complainer. But now I pay $1.25 a week for my bags, and I have modified my bins so that I have a rope on them to drag them out to the curb. And I have 2 large bins and usually a bag of shredded paper by the time they come around. And I have to use a clear bag, as they said, for the shredded paper. But I love it. I really think it's great, because $1.25 a week is not going to break me, even on a fixed income. And I don't say it would break anybody.
But
you have to pay attention and recycle what you can.
That's the key is paying attention to recycling.
The key is more education.
You're right. There's certainly an education piece. I mean, really, $1.25. That's less than going to Starbucks for coffee or to Dunkin' Donuts.
That's right.
Jabron, I'm gonna get you next because I've already called it twice. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Sue Ann Grass, and I manage some of the apartment houses in the South End. And I'm against the purple bags because I have people in the neighborhood. When I have a 5 apartment house, I have to have a dumpster.
Right.
People from around are bringing their garbage, dumping it in my dumpster that I have to pay for. Also, tenants, when they move out, They put them in the gray garbage bags and leave them there. And so when they move out, I have to go and pay for all this also, because they won't take the gray garbage bags. So I'm a landlord, I'm a manager, and we're going down. It seems like every time we turn around, we're getting hit by more expenses, more expenses. The tenants have all the rights, we have none.
There are some issues with that. But just excuse me for my ignorance, what do you mean when you say they won't take the gray bags?
She can't hear you.
What do you mean when you say they won't take the gray bags that come to the dumpster?
You know, the regular garbage bags that we used to use.
Oh, right, you mean so
They
the
put them in
other
bottles.
people in other buildings come
And
to
then
your
they leave
dumpster
them,
and then leave them?
then they won't pick them up, and then I have to come around because the code enforcer has called me, and I have to come around and make sure they're taken care of, which is a lot of money.
That is an
Well,
issue.
you shouldn't be spending money, you should be going back to your tenant that left the gray bag out.
No, it's not her tenant. I think what she's saying is some of these aren't her tenants. These are people from other buildings, right? Not your tenants.
It's a tenant that moves out, and leave in the trash,
They're gone.
they're gone.
They haven't paid the rent, I've had to take them to court, just money, money, money. So,
The people that are dumping the trash in your bin illegally from another spot, rip open the bag, there's gotta be an envelope in there with their name on it.
somebody,
Hand it to the police, you got them.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's illegal. Illegal use of services, theft. There you go.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
I'm a landlord, I know how to handle it. I have no problem ripping open a bag and saying, this ain't my shit, you're paying for it.
Gibran, you were next, and then Dana.
Yeah, Gibran Carter. I'm actually now in Ward 6. I just moved to Ward 6 again. And I'm just curious, have we considered moving to a tagging system versus these purple bags? Because I think that would be really great because we could use any bag versus the purple ones, but I don't know if it's possible.
It's actually something that I think we need to look into when we're looking at bags. And actually, Stu, I'll get to you in a second. Holden uses the stickers. I've talked to people that live in Holden that buy the stickers. They do like them. They do have to go to the town office to get them. So that, I don't know how that would fly with people, but essentially, if you have what equivalates to a 30-gallon can, you can just tag the top with the stickers. There are other issues with that. Some people pull the stickers off and go put them on there. It's one of those things, human nature is a nasty thing. And if we have people that are throwing trash on other people's lawns, then probably we have people that are going to start stealing stickers. But it is something that I think we can and should look at, Gibran. So that's a good question. Dana.
Dana Shannon, the Ward 6 counselor. First, I just want to thank everybody for being here. This is probably the best discussion that we've had about paging pro since we started the discussions a long time ago, and I just want to thank you. But I also want to ask, we can't do this alone. We need your help. So when you are seeing somebody illegally dumping, we want you to call the city, call the police. Just recently, I had a store owner downtown email me about they thought there was some illegal dumping behind their store. I called the code enforcement officer. He was there that day. I'm taking care of it. But we can't do it alone. So we need you to feel empowered to call the police, call code enforcement, call the city, and report, because we need to hold these people accountable. I do not want to make laws or ordinances or rules in this city to protect or support the people who aren't following the rules. We need to hold them accountable because we want the city, we want to revitalize the city and make this the best city, the cleanest city possible. But we can't do that if we keep allowing these people to get away with what they're doing. So out-of-town landlords who you feel that aren't taking care of their properties, people who are illegally dumping, turn them in. Because the police will open their garbage, will find their name in that garbage, and will go and take that garbage to them and hold them accountable for it. It should not be your responsibility, but we want to empower you to feel as though this is your city and you can make a difference. So I just really encourage everybody to do that.
Thank you. Sure.
Several comments were made about the bags, how the yellow straps pull out. Just a tip,
something I played with because I fill them every week. If you take the bag as you're pushing in, you push down on it, and you get the top narrower, you can get to a point where they won't break. You just gotta force it in. You just have to push it down a little bit, and then it'll draw up for you.
Just use a regular store bag, you can store it back up and put it in the front bag.
And I will say, Mark's guys are great. They'll pick up your bag even if there's holes all over the sides, because mine always has. I am dragging them down the driveway. It's the only way they're going to get there. Hey. My foot.
Gotta get a thing that has wheels on it.
Anybody else? No. Are we feeling good about this?
Just one more comment. The majority of this room is not opposed to recycling. And if this is going to stay the way it is, there's got to be a lot more publicity with this. And whether that is creating a volunteer to stand in front of where people are buying their purple bags and, you know, answering questions that people have so that people that are opposed to this recycle, the day that we're going to vote on it, they're going to understand it a little bit more. I mean, it took me having to buy a bag for me to understand how much I was throwing out, and there's only 2 of us, you know, so you hit people in the pocketbook and they're going to start doing things a little bit different. But for some people, I have a neighbor, she just puts out 3 or 4 bags and she's all by herself. You know, and I'm like, oh my God, where'd she get that money?
Sometimes they're half full.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so there needs to be, before June, before the vote, there needs to be either another one of these meetings or in key places throughout the city.
Well, how about this? We've taken in quite a bit of information tonight. I think we have some ideas that we do need to follow up on and try to gather that information. And perhaps if people are interested, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea in May to have another meeting we could come back and we can talk about what we found with some of those ideas. In the meantime, you're right, we need to ramp up the discussion. We need to keep this discussion going. We need to keep it public.
There's a sign across Main Street, says recycling meeting.
One moment. I just want to say, I hope what people get out of this is that this really is your city. And the decisions that are made by your elected officials have a huge impact on you, but also you're going to have an impact on you in June. So, you know, this is your budget and you all have an interest in this. So please keep the discussion going. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, come up with other ideas if you can. And I would say, come to the budget meetings. It's just so important. And to me, the more eyes, you can get the budget right on the website if you want to peruse, and send me an email, send your counselor an email if you have questions. I can tell you any counselor on the city council will be more than happy to discuss these things with you. They really are a great All right, we have 2 more comments and then we're going to wrap it up. That'll be the final comments. Yes, sir.
I was going to say that I think an education on recycling is really necessary. We really need to show the people that have recycling how much they can save and how simple it is to do it. Just that.
Chuck, do you have something?
Just trying to figure out who the right place to call is if they have a question about something. You said call city hall.
It would be our
code enforcement with the police, right? That's, I mean, because if you go the wrong place, they're going to get passed on.
I think code enforcement office and then even recycling company here.
No.
No representative?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.